Alrighty, guys. Welcome to this Friday, October 3rd. So we are in a government shutdown mode. So we're not going to get this employment situation come out today. Otherwise, that would have been the big attraction for today, the employment situation at 8:30. But not that PMI or ISM, so nothing is coming out. So we have a no news Friday in front of us. The market is to the upside. And it feels very much like we have a shot at keeping this grinding at least for now, absent news to drive it. So it's you never know. If the news had been could certainly set this off to the downside again. So I mean, it has been holding in this upper range here for quite a while. And at one point, this the move out of the middle looks like they kind of gonna run out a little bit of gas here. And who knows? A piece of bad news could certainly reverse that right back into this lower range or maybe even lower. But at this point, the market is still looking very perky and that they want to take it higher. So as long as it does that, we're going to be on the long side of this. And we're going to be looking at this lower, the edge here starting at the 67.35s. Below that one, we'll go back range bound. So that is going to be our ledge right there. So I point on the F1, you see my global crosshair is down here at this level. And that's where we take off any, that's where we shift our bias back to range bound trading. Now, if you want to be more aggressive, we probably can shift it already here at the 67.55s. I would give it a little bit more room because this is not that whole of a range. So it's 30s up to the 50-point range. So if they have, if they get some weakness, I would look to buy against support 67, 70s, 65s, 55s, 45s down to the 35 level for rotations back up. Could be a potential short worth taking here after the 55 comes out if that happens to see how far they can run it. But that would be more of a go with type of trade on the downside. Why is it snowing? I just read your comment there. Winter's already here. Christmas is here in 2 months, as you know. That's just to freak you all out. Anyway, sorry, the sidetrack. So look at the buyer weakness below that 67.55. If you have early weakness, which it's going to be a little bit stronger than normal, you may take out this 55, spread it all the way down into this lower ranges at 45 or 50 or 35s. So there could be a potential short there on the way down. Those are usually notoriously hard to take. Sometimes you just have to kind of get short intra-bar to try to get the best trade location you can. It's not by any means it's a pure go with type of the momentum trade. So so I would be I'm usually cautious on those trades unless I see a really good opportunity. But initially looking to buy 67, 70s, 65s, 55s, 45s, 35s. So rotations up. Below 35s, we're trading below this range. We're going to be in this lower range. But technically, we can rotate back to the 6700s at that point. On the way up, since it's grinding a little bit, there could be a short trade setting up here. Um, wanted to get this maybe a little bit closer. I've been going back and forth trying to get this edge maybe a little bit tighter, but it's getting a little bit crowded up here. So looking for shorts against the 67.80s and the 85s for rotations down. If they start taking these guys out, then just stay on the long side and see how far they want to drive this. So we are still very much in a long move out of the middle to the upside. And we started this a couple of days ago. Yeah, yesterday we had a little bit of a fast day. This is basically started on the beginning of fourth quarter, October 1st. And so far we have extended in the overnight again. So we're technically still in that move out of the middle to the upside. So that's where we get started. No news to drive the market. So we'll see how this how the overall market mood is. Now, there's going to be a drag on this if this shutdown keeps going and they can't resolve it. There's going to be a drag on it. I happen to think that, and it's probably going to be a couple of weeks, I'm thinking we would have seen the reaction early on if it would have been something. But after a few weeks, if it's still going, I think the market may start getting a bit of heartburn. However, I mean, they right now, from what I can tell, they're going to just take that opportunity now to downsize the government, you know. You lay people off permanently or not hiring them back after it's done. So it's interesting. This emergency is almost like a gift for the Doge guys, kind of looking for reasons to cut stuff, you know. So anyway, Nasdaq and the bonds, the bond markets to the upside, they're slowly drifting back up again. So they are definitely backing off that lower edge. We are pretty much in the middle of this range. Let me blow this up for a second. This is the bond market. Bond market is not in a is not having an issue just yet, so they are still there back out, definitely back off this lower edge. You can see how obvious that edge is at the 116s. That's a pretty obvious edge, and back off that edge, heading up towards the upper area at the 118s. So I would just stay range bound and maybe stay keep the bias to the upside. It looks to me like they're backing off that lower edge and they're heading up towards this upper area. So I would look to buy against the 1708s, 17s for rotations back up again. Below 17s, I'm just taking off that long bias and going back range bound. And on the way up, potentially short setups. I mean, it's not that maybe at 16, 17 here, maybe a short setup if they're not going to be able to take it higher than that. But and yeah, I'll look for a short setup up here. We'll see if it develops or not. But looks to me like they're trying to take this higher, and they're not going to run into resistance on the bonds until they hit that 118 level or get close to it. And Nasdaq making new highs as well, probe to the upside, so they're also in a price discovery to the upside. And same exact story there. Look at the buy weakness on the Nasdaq against the 25 130s. 25,070s, 25,020s, 25,000s, and I would include the 24,970 as well, one level below that, obvious. So below that level, if the trade, I mean, aggressively, you want to below 24,000, you could potentially look for a retracement trade, and it less aggressively below that 970, but below that those levels, right, we start retracing this back towards that 890, 900 level, maybe this volume edge. So they take out this upper area here around 25,000, and this is these three little levels right there. When they take out those support areas, I think we are retracing back in that lower range again. So I'll say it's a non-news Friday, so it's going to get some profit taking, maybe, maybe not. It's a little bit too early in the quarter for being too worried about it. There's no real news to drive it, so we'll see how the market feels about it. So far, trading it from the long side of the market. Let's see how far they can keep this going. On the way up, it could be a short against the 180 level here. If they start trading above that, yes, back looking at intraday levels for potential short setups. So that's kind of where we are. So trading ES and the Nasdaq from the long side of the market to get started. Unless they start taking out a couple of these key support areas, that's where we're going to stay. And let's see how the market fares here throughout this Friday. Now, yes, for the health, a little bit of health or housekeeping, I meant to say. Now, I'm going to be missing the next update, the 11:30 update. I'm going to be on the road. That's going to step out for a few hours, but I'll be hopefully back for the 1:30. If not, I'll be back for the wrap up at the end. So I don't know quite how long it's going to take, but just so you know. It's not news to really to drive it either. So it may be as the doldrum kind of a trading day. On gold, they're kind of running out of gas. They had a lot of crazy stuff the last few days, and now today's trading has been pretty muted. And that's kind of sitting here around the 38.85s, 3900s. My guess would be they're going to trade maybe a little bit higher here and stay around 3900, start building value. So I would start off range bound on gold at this point. Capital flow is pointed higher, so definitely favoring the long side if anything. So if you see weakness, looking to buy against that. If they start taking out that lower edge, this edge right there, 38.40 to 50, start thinking retracement trade to the downside. But we got a lot of range here before we had to worry about that. So it's basically taking out that low here, 38.40 to 50, this lower area. So if they see a weakness, look to buy against the 38.80s, 76s. 70s down to that 60s for rotations up. Looking for short setups against the 89, 90s, 98s, 39.05s, 39.10s for rotations back down. So that's kind of what the way we get started on gold. So range band trading on gold. If they start taking out that 3900, we have this right here, that 3900 volume edge. I would potentially look for a go with type of trade, but we have a couple of levels I would include as well, the 3905 and 3910. So a little bit higher before I really start looking at confirmation that we're heading higher again. So that's gold. Range bound, chances are we may get a holding day. There's been so much craziness, a consolidation day would not be completely out of the question. And then finally, oil. They took out the lows, the 61s yesterday, haven't been able to trade back above it. That reverse retest and the 61.20s has worked so far. Talked about that yesterday. We look to sell strength after that 61.20s. I think we included 61.60 or 70s as well, but so far that one is still holding. So I would just look to I would stay in the short side on oil, look to sell strength to 61.30, 61.65 to 70s. This one could be a bit tad higher actually right there. Include that little more over there. So 61.60 to 70. So these two resistance areas, looking for shorts against those for rotations down. If they can't get up that far, I'll stay on the short side. It could be a long setup against the 60s and the 40s and the lower end of this. But I'm not going to be super aggressive on that. We'll see. Watching this little move to the downside on oil to see if it's the beginning of something, right? If they're going to try to take this lower. All right, so that's oil. So gold range bound, oil, slight bias to the downside. Back to the ES. And here we are. That's the kind of still holding on to the range. Back to the mean again. So let's see how this all develops. But it is a Friday. We have no news to drive it at the beginning of the fourth quarter. So that's going to be an interesting day, right? And yes, you don't forget, Christmas is coming up, 2 months, and it's starting to snow. Now I'm going to go fish for marlin this weekend, though, I think. Last hurrah. See if we can catch a marlin. Anyway, guys, we'll see you back at 1:30. I think is going to be the closest I can make it. We'll see if not by the end of the trading day. All right, no snow where I am at. No way, Jose. It's getting a little bit colder, but still okay. Alrighty, guys. We'll see you back later. So good trading. There you go. All right, guys, later.